Everybody, welcome to another episode of Convention Confessional. I hate you, Rob. My name is Katy Hunt, and I'm here to guide you through the good, the bad, and the ugly of the convention world. Happy New Year, everybody! What a way to start off. I have with me today my white whale, the legend, the man, the myth, the one that everyone's talked about, but you've never actually heard from yourselves in this podcast multiple times from many of my friends. Rob's here today. Hello, dear.
Oh, hello, Kitty, you wonderful person, you.
Oh, you're so lovely. Shut up.
You're a darling. I don't know what.
Yeah, you act all innocent. I'm leaving the beginning of this open. I'm not editing it one bit. Everyone can hear you.
That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
I get it. Funny enough, before we get into it, Rob's actually my oldest convention friend, whether he realizes it or not.
Well, I'm sure you'll tell me how.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I went to a convention in 2004 with my friend Emily, but then the following year, you were like the first person that I met that I made friends with that wasn't somebody from like my high school or college or somebody that I was rooming with. You know what I mean? So you're technically like my first friend that I made at a convention outside of my friends group.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So many years ago.
Too many, but yes.
Yeah, way too many. Yes, Rob has been doing conventions about as long as I have, actually, because your first convention was AB 2004, correct?
No, it's AB 2003. That's actually part of the legacy here.
But your first cosplay year was 2004.
Correct.
Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, like we said, my first actual convention was 2003. I had like failed attempts in the late 90s to go to like Sci-Fi Con. Like I don't even remember the names were. I was dragged by like older siblings and whatnot, and like they had no idea how they worked. So we show up and they're sold out, and we're like, okay, I guess we'll head home now. Anyway, so I went to 2003, and that what spurred that is that one of my my childhood friends contacted me back in college.
Mm-hmm.
So 2003 was my junior year in college. I was an art major, and like I always liked the anime. He went off to private school after middle school, so like we hear from each other like ships in the night, back and forth like that. But he goes,
right.
"Hey, I'm at Northeastern. They're having the first ever anime convention in Boston, Anime Boston." And it was the first anime convention, just anime. I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds great. What are the details? And so he's like, oh, come out. I'm like, okay, well, I got class on Friday, stuff like that. So I casually go to this. So I I get home. I travel from UMass to Dartmouth. I go all the way up to Beverly, my hometown. And then I'm not really used to using the railway system.
Who is in Boston?
And especially from the suburbs, and when you're like like your young 20s, you've never had to go into Boston for anything.
It's awful.
So
it's
like yeah, so I'm like, okay, oh, inbound, awesome. Like, oh, it's this time. No, that's the outbound train. I have to go inbound. So I'm like, oh god. So then like my father like begrudgingly drives me to the end of the subway line.
Wolfie.
Yeah, my father's name is Wolfgang.
It sure is.
Yeah. So now he gets mentioned. And so I get in, and by the time I get into Boston, my friend's like, "Oh, we're at the Park Plaza. Stop at this station. We'll come get you." This like early age of cell phones. No texting, no whatever. You like, yeah, winging a prayer, your phone gets connected.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I get to Park Plaza. He finds me. We go in, and I go and buy a badge. This is before the fire department. It's like, stop selling badges. It's the Park Plaza. You have over 5,000 people here. It can only hold 3,000,
Right.
So it was like, oh God. And the reason why I'm talking long-winded about this whole thing is that this is actually my first time ever truly experiencing the concept of cosplay in person.
Sure.
And I'm actually flabbergasted. Even in 2003, the accuracy so many of these people had, like I could always distinguish who everyone was trying to be. and yeah, and I'm just like, oh, this is like really amazing. It's really fun. AMVs, whatever. So my friend's like, oh, you seem to be really having fun. We go to panels and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, AMVs, love them, yeah. And they're like, oh, we're gonna go to the masquerade. Like, yeah, let's go to the masquerade. Like, yeah, soak me into all this convention goodness, and just baptize me right here. And
Right.
so
Lay it on me.
lay it on me. And so we go to the masquerade, and it's in the Park Plaza Grand Ballroom and everything like that, and we're all crammed in there. Um, and so we see the masquerade. I'm like, oh, this is really cute. Like, all these costumes are really nice and stuff like that. And now I'm precedent this right now. A little bit of a little bit of the start of the famous the famous Rob ego. It's that I saw a guy go up, and
Famous Rob ego.
I see a contestant go up, and he's dressed as Vash.
Hmm.
And okay, to his credit, nowadays, older person understanding everything, like I always feel bad that I internally like thought less of this person. They went up on stage, they made something, they came out, but I'm like, I could do better than that.
There it is.
And there it is, yeah.
There it
And
is.
so there is the episodes of like, okay, I'm gonna make a Vash the Stampede again. Katie, did you know that the one in 2004 was not my first Vash the Stampede?
Not your first attempt?
Not my first attempt.
No, I did not know that, Rob.
So sophomore year, um, we were making like quick costumes for Halloween in college.
Sure.
Let's go drinking, whatever.
Sure.
And that's when Trigon was like on Adult Swim. Every
Hmm.
Saturday night at 12.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm just like, hey, let's go to like the Joann's. Like that's a store that sells fabric. Like I never done that. And so like I couldn't find anything. I'm like, I don't know, this doesn't seem right. And so then I like, oh, I found like vinyl. No, we're talking about like 2001 vinyl, like
Hmm. Hmm. Crap.
stuff that has the white fluff on the back end,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so I pieced together a black version of the trench coat,
Sure.
duct tape it because I don't have a sewing machine.
Excellent.
you know, I had the statue because I did have some spare money that I bought like stupid stuff back then. So I had the McFarlane statue,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I'm gonna get a chain. I'm gonna wrap myself in a chain and all this stuff, and didn't do anything with my hair. I wear glasses anyway. I'm blind as a bat, But like I made a Vash the Stampede, and
Hmm.
so that was actually technically the first, not technically the best, but
But we don't talk about that redheaded stepchild, obviously.
yes. But so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna revisit this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But like, I had no grand plans on it. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna make one. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so we continue on, and so Enemy Boston Stop is done and over, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Whatever. I had fun. I really liked that. I'm gonna go back to school and just think about that and whatever. And then like I go to the summer internship, get over through that, and then I'm like, I'm gonna really start like looking into stuff. Like I really want to like figure out how this coat really was supposed to be put together. And like about that time, the manga started coming out slowly. They had like the first two issues,
Hmm.
and so I'm like ripping through that and like doing all the angle stuff like that. I buy a resin statue, like you make yourself,
Yep.
like and I got that. I'm like looking around that, trying to like figure out like everything. Like it was like, wow, like why did I put this much effort into my actual schoolwork?
I think that can be said for anything. It's just like, wow, if I put
Yeah,
as much effort into half of these cosplays as I put into, I don't know, life.
yeah,
Eh.
it's like it's like the old saying. It's like, oh man, I should have done drugs. It would have been cheaper.
Oh
Um,
God, remember those bags?
yeah. Oh god, the giant,
Yeah, the
giant
crack is cheaper bags.
cracker cheaper bags. But yeah. And so yeah, over months I just like was figuring it all out. Then it come to like winter break before Anime Boston. Um, they said you had to pre-register because they had a cap that for 2005 because of the fire marshal incident. But they
2004.
2004, sorry. Um, and they also extended the dealer's room across the street in the like Castle Church.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
For the
Um,
dealer's room and everything.
for the dealer's room and such. And so it's winter break, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. Hey, mom. Yes, now we're gonna call out Gisela.
Isla! Mom!
And I'm like, how do you sew? And she's like,
I can see your mother just looking at you going, really?
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 You want to do this? This something you
Okay.
want to do? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
she was very supportive and everything like that. But she says, just, sweetie, like, um, I only know so much, because I knew she like would help out making flags for the marching band. Yes, I was in the marching band, for the
Yeah!
color guard and stuff like that. So I'm like, like, what do we need? Whatever. And so this is where we get into the whole. Back in my day, we didn't have such variety of fabrics to choose from and locations to get said fabrics. And
Hashtag kids don't know.
yeah, kids don't know. You don't know. You
You
don't
don't
know.
realize.
You don't realize. So now we go into, all right, I think, you know what? I'm going to try to make this in my spring break,
Hmm.
at night, after, my internships. I'll just work on this and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, well, got to get supplies. All right, what are
Hmm.
we going to do? Well, I liked going the vinyl route because I felt the cloth didn't represent how the coat like functioned, like whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some nice vinyl. I'm gonna spend some money on this.
Sure.
Uh, no one has anything. Nothing. The proper red.
Right.
you know. So I'm like, and I only could find like a yard and a half of a premium more maroon. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll make this kind of more realistic, like colors a little bit. I think like Daredevil came out. The
Sure.
Ben Affleck Daredevil came out.
Because that's the example you want to lead by.
Yeah, basically. But I'm like, all
Thanks,
right,
Affleck.
I'll go, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go like realistic, like a movie. And I still couldn't find anything. So at one point, I had to travel all the way over to Lowell to some fabric store that doesn't exist anymore, if I guess, because I don't go to Lowell for anything. Like if I don't have to, I mean, I'm so far away from it.
Hmm.
It's like that distance. That's just too much. Like I'm probably looking to find something closer. So I go there, and I actually had to order the remaining 2 yards I needed,
Mm. Sounds right.
and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same vinyl.
Oh, no.
That 2004 Vash was two different maroonish vinyls. So like, okay, all right, that's fine. It is what it is, Like I'm working with what I got. It's not a T-shirt. It's something, and I don't know. We just I figured out like for any of you future Vash cosplayers that it's basically two coats.
Hmm.
You have the long trench coat sleeveless, and then
Yep.
you just have the sleeves with the collar, and
Right.
then you slap a fabric on top that connects the two with buttons. Boom. There's your Vash cosplay. not
Done.
not so easy. So then like I'm learning how to sew vinyl by trial and error. We did have a feeding foot, so that at least helped,
And how many needles did you go through?
Oh, I don't keep track of that even today.
Too many.
Ping, new one. Ping, new one. Ping, new one. I'm gonna sew you. You got to stop this.
You're right.
Um, no, but yeah. So like, so that just like so basically just say the month of January.
Hmm.
I'm working on this, and like I'm like, okay, I'm not really gonna get all this done, but at least I'll get all the sewing done.
Right.
you know so I get it sewn. I get brown lining material for like anything you line, just that very thin stuff, but I got brown because I couldn't find red. So I'm like, all right, I'll go make it brown. And I lined the whole thing too. All the pieces are there. I'm like, I'll finish it at school, like the snap rivets, hammering those in and stuff like that, and I'll make a prop. And I think the only other thing I did in January was like at my internship, they had a little machine shop where you could have a foot uh, sheet metal cutter press,
Hmm.
and I took like Home Depot like strapping for decks and like hammered them flat and cut them into like strips so I could bend to make like the similar look to like that resin figure I got for his shin pads. So that was all metal. I bought like some boots and stuff like that. And so then I go to school and like I completely forget about the costume. It's just sitting in my closet. I'm like, whatever. Okay, I got school. I'm doing school. And so then, like, I got a good another like 2 months go by, and then, so that we're in March, and that year was in about April, if I remember. It felt like I don't know.
Um,
You would think I would actually look this up before talking to you.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I want to say it was in April because it was after. Because the reason I didn't go to 2003 was because it happened like later March, and we were having our school musical, so I couldn't go.
Okay.
And I would have much rather have gone to a convention, but that's a whole nother story. And the following year, we had our musical, and then the convention was happening. So it happened in April. I remember that.
Yeah, so yeah, that seems right. Um, and so then I'm like, oh, grad, I got a mad rush. I gotta like, got everything going. So I'm like, well, I don't have the gun. How am I gonna do the gun? How am I gonna do the gun? Katie, how am I gonna do the gun?
I don't
Like,
know.
we're not even friends yet.
What do
And
I
I actually,
do?
what do I do? So actually, that the first tray gun I actually thought was funny is that I went to a dollar store. All right, went to a dollar store, and they had a snap pistol, the cap guns, pew, pew,
Yep,
make
yep,
the little sparkers that are in there,
yep, yep.
and they had a RoboCop gun. And the only reason why this even occurred to me was because it was on the ground upside down, and I noticed that if you look at the muzzle of the RoboCop gun,
Hmm.
it's kind of flared cube. So, but upside down, Vash's gun notoriously has the barrel on the lower chamber. That I was like, oh my god, I could just cut these things together and like glue them together,
Right.
and that's what I did. Now, mind you, I used like paper. Um, what was it like pre-made paper mache to like give it some weight, connect it, hold things together. Like we didn't have I didn't know what Bondo was. I didn't know like
Like,
what we didn't have Wordla.
yeah,
We
right.
don't have
Nope.
Wordla. I'm trying to jerry rig the hell out of this. So like I make the handle out of like a giant lump of paper mache and like put my like grip it really tight to get my finger lines in there and like go from there, sanding it and like a hand paint and I sprayed it silver. I didn't know what clear coating was. What's clear coating?
Right.
It's it's like whatever. So I silver everywhere. I don't care. I got it. I silver it. And then I like run off to Savers, which at the time was like a favorite place to go when you were bored.
Right.
And I bought them out of like every single belt, like women's section, men's section, belts, just bags of belts.
Which sounds more like a Lulu costume than anything else.
Well, yeah, I know, but like I was kind of like going more towards the manga or especially that statue I had
And
and,
Daredevil.
and Daredevil. Yes, thank you. The only Daredevil thing was the red, but
Oh, sorry.
so then like I'm sitting there in my dorm room and I'm like strapping belts to my leg and cutting them to size and order and like going down black jeans. um and I'm like, oh, I'm putting some on my arm too and like
Hmm.
taking like a piece of like aluminum sheet metal from like roofing, like the water guard, and I'm like putting a little hole in it to make like a casing eject, and I'm putting on gloves and putting like stupid rings on my gloves and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh
Bits
yeah,
and bobs all over the
I
place.
know, and I'm bits and bobs and like oh yeah, maybe I'll draw that next week for class, and I'm sitting there with like a hammer, like wailing snaps. I've never put snaps into anything, and I'm like just wailing. I'm like, why aren't they sticking? Like, why are they like connecting each other? Like, oh, the ring inside's bent. I'll put another one. Like, just doing all this stuff, and my my roommates are like, we kind of like let the anime stuff go, but what the freaking hell are you doing? But
You walked in. It's like Tony Stark getting caught, like getting the Iron Man suit off. It's like this is not the worst thing you've seen me doing.
no, it wasn't. I mean, I did have one. I did have one. Actually, one of my roommates then was a repeat roommate who was one of my friends who knew about the first Vash.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, I'm getting all ready. I'm like, oh god, okay, hair. How am I going to do the hair? How am I going to do the hair? And I'm like, I'll bleach my head.
Because that's what we all do.
Okay. So in the time also in college, I had my hair very short. I had a friend with a trimmer, and I just pay her like $10, like just clean me up, whatever. I go, hey, can I give you $50 and we'll figure out how to dye my hair blonde like this? And she's like, sure. She's completely like, I've never dyed anyone's hair, not even my own hair, but you're paying me this much money. I am going to fake it till
Yep.
we make it. So I ended up like, we ended up like trimming all my hair short on the sides, all the length I grew it out since the last haircut on top. We kind of like splotched it in, not like doing tinfoil or anything like that. We just splotched it in.
Flap, flap, flap.
Yeah, yeah. So some parts are like burnt bleached, other parts are normal bleached, other parts are still my regular brown hair. And I'm
It was
like,
quite the mishmash,
oh
now that
my
I'm
gosh.
looking at it.
Oh, I know. It really was. That's the story behind the mishmash. I was trying to go for like, let's like make it multiple blondes, like to give it some dynamic, not just like I dip
Now, is
my
that
head
what you
in
were telling
bleach.
yourself because you knew it wasn't going to come out perfectly blonde, or like just to like live with it, or did you actually believe that?
I actually believed that.
Wow,
I thought I was doing something there.
commitment. That's
Commitment.
commit to
Yeah,
the bit.
it was 2004 commitment.
I know.
You know, like it
Hey,
was just like
listen again. You don't have to say anything to me. Remember, I painted a wig.
been there, done that. Um, and this is not the first time dyeing my hair, but that's another story, kids.
Yeah, right.
Um, so I'm like, okay, all right, I got this giant can of hairspray. We'll figure it out at my friend's apartment. Oh god! And so in the trope of back then too, and it's probably still a trope for me today. I
Mm,
never fully put on a costume until I get to a convention.
same.
So like, I don't know if something wasn't going to work until the day.
Right.
You know, I don't have this, like, oh, how about I get it at least close enough done and wear all of it together to, notice anything wrong. I can't walk. Actually, I'm getting to myself like that, but eh, and so like I'm just throwing everything to the bags, everything ready, and like I'm ready to like skip my Friday class um, and go straight to Anime Boston that morning. Actually, no, I went the night before. Get to my friend's apartment. Everyone's crashing at his apartment. I mean, there's normally 4 guys in that apartment. Now there's 12 of us, and this is in Boston, in like the college district,
Hmm.
and northeastern,
Yep.
around that area, but not the dorms, like his own apartment. And so we're coming in there. Everyone's really excited to see like me do this because they're just seeing the pieces come out of the bag. They're like, "Oh my god! Like you put in effort." Um, and so now we're getting to the day of the Friday, Friday, the first time wearing a cosplay. We have now reached chapter 3, I guess. I don't know. And so I'm putting it on. I'm strapping up everything, and I put on the metal shin guards, which are just like those push snaps you get from anywhere now, and they snap to the leather belts. And I can't walk. I can't properly walk. I can't lift my foot up to do a
Hmm.
proper stride. I'm
Hmm.
like, ow, ow, ow. Okay, I'll just push through. This is also the first time I wore contacts.
Oh.
I'm like, eh. Like, even though I had like the yellow Vash like hippie glasses that were like bent on the side to like make the little swiggle. Um, I was like, oh, first time wearing contacts. Like, ow, my eye, my eye.
Ah, it
How do people
burns.
do this? Um, I'm doing that, and then we're like, well, I have to put the costume on because I can't get my head in into it if like I had my hair done, like I'll crush my hair, so I have to wear like half of it on it. And then we're trying to like these are like college dudes, and then maybe some of their girlfriends. None of us know how to use hairspray, and so they finally like, well, let's engineer this, and we figured out, oh, if we put me upside down some way, my hair will naturally flop down, and then we just spray the crap out of it, and then like let it air dry. So
Right.
I'm sitting on a futon upside down. My feet are up the wall. My head's hanging off the end. Put down a towel. They're spraying this mishmash of blonde hair, soaking it, basically more dipping than actually spraying, you know. And then I'm sitting there just like going, my eyes are going cross. My blood flow's not going the right way. What's going?
What is it with Vash costumes? I did the same thing to my arm in mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cut the circulation off in my arm. Did you not hear about that?
No, I have heard about that. I have
Oh
heard
yeah,
about that.
exactly. So you like you're trying to take a leg off. I tried to lose an arm in Vash.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the costume.
It's a costume. That's like,
Sacrifice.
damn it. Sacrifice we do for this band. Um, and so they're like, all right, let's go on the subway off to Park Plaza. I am the only one wearing a costume out of this group. And it's back in the heyday. You don't really see people like wander the transit system. You do it now, but
Right.
so I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I look like a punk rocker.
Hmm.
I have a firearm that I'm trying to conceal.
Which I mean, by the way, like the fact that you could carry that around back in the day too, because nowadays you would have definitely gotten like arrested.
Let's talk about later in the day.
Okay.
Okay, so I go to the convention. And this is actually the cornerstone of what kept this going. Is I walk into Park Plaza. I can't get to the registration line.
Why?
Um, Pictures.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Like I was like so taken aback. I was like, I can't move. Every single time someone stops taking a picture, the next person wants to take a picture, and like I just was stuck in the lobby for a good half an hour.
I'm like, guys, I don't have a badge yet.
Oh, my badge. Let me get my badge. No, but like just let's sit there. It's like I went from none of that to all of that.
Right. It's like I was on a train a few minutes ago and some lady with the bag was just staring at me like I was the weirdest thing she's ever seen. And now you're a rock star.
And it's just like, okay, cool, yeah, awesome, hey, yeah, I'm doing it, I'm wearing it, it's just great, like awesome. So we finally get me my badge, and this is actually the first time I put the now, the known badge name
Hmm.
is Sketch.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I have this nickname is from playing Counter-Strike in college
Nerd.
and being an illustration major who notorious feature was he always had a pencil stuck behind his ear, and always had a sketchbook and stuff like that. So,
Right.
it was like, oh, well, it's Sketch. I'm like, hey, yeah, what are people got my
It's fun
name?
because you draw.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know. Like last year I had my real name on here, but like I don't know, this is kind of new for me. I kind of want to have some anonymity, so I'm like, oh, I'll put that name down. And then it was written into history.
And it's followed me ever since.
Yeah. No, no, it's whatever. It's not to like, people are like, oh, you're sketchy. I'm like, no, I'm just sketch.
No, just
But
sketch.
no, so the badge name is Sketch. All right. And so we go about, um, we see the sites. Everything is familiar. Like the
Hmm.
other room is the same place. Panels are up somewhere in the fifth floor and hallways and such like that. Um, and And yeah, it was just really great. And I'm like, okay, we didn't have breakfast. I haven't had coffee. Can we like, let's go get lunch? Like, oh, let's just cut a few blocks over and we'll go to a food court. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go, let's go. I'm used to walking in public like this now. Uh,
Right.
and so we're walking in there, and it's like, all right, where do we want to eat? We're like, oh, okay, over there, or there. We're sitting there, and I'm like, I feel eyes on me, and like, yeah, I'm kind of used to the idea of eyes being on me for a little bit, but I'm like, I need to kind of just get a peripheral here. I'm like, this is a public place, which is not the convention,
Hmm.
which means people who are unaware of what I'm doing are now looking at me.
Hmm. Hmm. It's like, oh yeah, I'm outside of the zone. That's
I'm
right.
outside the zone. Oh no. I mean, I was catcalled by some construction workers too, but
Yeah, but that's just like a normal day. I
that's a
mean,
normal day, yeah. And so I'm like, why do I feel odd? And then this random stranger, but about the same age as all the attendants, comes up and goes, "Dude, is that a real gun?" I'm like, "Oh crap, that's why I feel odd.
hmm.
They're cops looking at me."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoops."
No, it is not.
I probably should have left this behind.
Right? Wow, bad choices.
So it's like my first day. I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna get arrested my first time doing this. Thankfully, one of the cops knew what was happening down the street and came
Hmm.
by. I'm just like, prop. I'm like, prop, sir. Yes, yes, sir. It's a prop. Okay. Try to keep that under the flap of that jacket. Like, okay. Thank God. Thank God. Thank
Is this
God.
before we zip tied anything?
Hmm?
We didn't zip tie things until like later on at conventions, right?
No, I mean, this is the age of discovery. Like, what can't you solve after having like five conventions?
Right.
You do your best is think of all the things you can, and then you go forward as life goes on.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's no real tie. I mean, they actually, you know what? I completely think no wrong. They did, but then they were really considerate and they put it on the ring guard for the trigger.
Ah,
So you don't see it because I could cover it when I hold the gun.
right,
And
right.
they clipped it too so that it wasn't like dangling out. And
Uh,
that was back before they had like the bright orange. Now
yeah.
for me, I did this for a little bit until I heard online people thought it was dumb that I had the orange tip to my gun. So I took the orange tip off, but I put the orange tip back on from the toy gun.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I'm like, okay, whew. Can we go back to the convention? I need to sign in for the masquerade.
Hmm.
All right. So I'm sure most people know generally how is a masquerade function now. Like you have skits. Well, this was back in the era when we had walk-ons. All right, and always seemed like we only had walk-ons. There was only walk-ons. There wasn't no hall competition separate. There was walk-ons. You walked
Right.
on, you twirled around, you came out. Now, I mean, I kind of knew that's kind of what people did, and I'm by myself in this whole ordeal. So I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll jazz it up. I'll like play some funny music and jump around the stage and whatnot. Um, and so I go and I sign up, and they're like, "Oh, are you doing walk on or a skit?" I'm like, a kind of a walk on." They're like, "You gave us a sound clip. Are you like reacting to it at all?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. There's gunfire and I'm dodging." They're like, "You're a skit." I'm like, "Okay,
Okay.
whatever you say." I am a complete lamb in the wild. I don't know the specifics. I shall go with the flow here. And so they made me a skit because they had barely any to begin with.
Right.
Um, and so I'm
Like when
like,
they
all right,
force you from being a novice into like an advanced, you're like, we don't have enough advanced skits. You look like you've sewn before. It's like, wait, what?
what? Huh? I've done this once right here.
Your song clearly indicates that you are going to do something other than just stand there, and therefore you're a skit now. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
that's how easy it was, kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I got through that, got my badge. I'm like, oh, that's pretty stoked. So then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna hit up the dealer's room before we head, end the day or anything like that, or like, And this is also I'm like, I discovered Gundams, Katie. I
This
discovered Gundams.
is this what this was?
Is what it is. And I just had my, my paid internship.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some money to burn.
You had adult money.
I had adult money. And so I decided to buy like two really big kits because I'm like, I want to spend some time doing this. So I buy these two big kits. I'm like, all right, I'm walking around. I'm Bash the Stampede. I got these two kits in my arms. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stuck like this. People want photos. What's going on? And so then at one point, we actually lost one of our friends
Hmm.
in the group, and we're like, well, you know, she was nervous about being in Boston, so like I felt bad, so I'm like, let's go find her. So we're like strategically combing through the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting here as Vash, like being stopped left and right, constantly saying the same answers to the point that one of my friends actually could verbatim tell everybody what I was going to say. He heard it so damn much. And so I'm just walking around. I'm getting really tired. I can't bend my ankles because of the stupid guards.
Sure.
And I'm like trying to like walk normal stuff like that. I'm carrying these two giant boxes, and I'm just like I'm starting to get like really exhausted. And I'm like, okay, would people stop taking my photo? And so then I just hear this one guy go, "Ah, I got a heavy load there, Vash." And I look up, and it's someone from my high school that I hadn't seen in 4 years since I graduated.
Always.
I'm like, and he's just normal civilian. Like he's just wearing normal clothes, and I go, "Hey, Tim," and then like his face goes, "What the Rob?" Like, "Hi, this is what I've been doing since you last seen me."
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh,
Oh,
hi.
hi. So it's just like, God, this is such an weird experience. Weird
What did
experience.
you say?
What is going on here? But yeah, we ended up finding my friend, and she was fine. She just went to the gaming room, and we didn't get there yet.
Mhm.
Um, we checked out RSL and stuff like that. So like, it's like I'm hitting all the tropes of a convention, which I'll do or have done every single year since then. Just checking out stuff, wearing
Right.
costumes, stopping for photos, getting stuck in a few corners.
Right. The
Um,
basics.
yeah. But I still have to say that year was the only year I had 5 people independently stop in front of me and start bowing like Wayne's World.
Oh, there's Rob's ego.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet. We haven't got
We
there
haven't
yet.
got there yet.
We haven't got there yet. I know we're at 35 minutes. We haven't got there yet. We're getting there, though. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. So we friends of mine decided to like take my bounty for me back to the hotel room, and I'm like, oh, thank you guys. And we stayed there, did the watch the AMV stuff like that. So it was bouncing around, like, oh, this is great. Let's get home. I'm getting tired. Um, and then so it's, nighttime, going to bed, got out of everything, took a shower to get the crunch out of my hair.
Mhm.
Um, all this stuff. I'm just like, I am tired, but that was really fun. That was really fun. I like that. On the floor, passed out. I'm like, so that was just day one, Katie. And that's not even probably all the stories. That was just day one.
Day one.
Day one of this new life. And so we get down. So it's now Saturday morning. We're like, all
Mhm.
right, let's let's see if we can do this faster. It's always the thing. Can we put this on faster? And so we have me upside down, dousing me with hairspray.
Mhm.
I'm getting impatient because like I'm like, I don't like this. It's really uncomfortable. So I end up like getting up, and the hair didn't quite sit the same way.
It
Um,
never does.
it never does. So it was different for the actual masquerade. And so we get on the transit. Eyes look at me again. Get into the convention. Getting stopped left and right. um, but I'm like, all right, well, this is fun. All right, wait, similar things happen again. I'm having fun. Uh, Meeting other people. There was another Vash, the cosplayer there, who also used vinyl, who, in a lot of respects, I think did a better job. He did the poofy hair
Ah.
from when he got wet.
Yep.
He had a box of donuts. He had the little cat on his shoulder. He actually had the right color vinyl. He was tall and skinny. I'm just like, oh, this guy's amazing. But like, I'm still hyped up from everybody. So like, I walk around with him a little bit. Everyone's like, oh my god, they're Vashes. Um, yeah, I'm going around, and then we see another Vash who is doing the best he could, and he's just sitting there feeling like really bad about himself. And I'm like, dude, are you in high school? He's like, yeah. Do you have a job? He's like, no. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like,
Right.
and I'm like, where is this coming from me, who was on a high at the moment, but I was able to like have a moment, just be like, it's fine, you're having fun.
Right. That's all that
Like,
matters.
it's all that matters. All that matters. This is great. And so it gets down to the day, and like, I know this is kind of a little bit of a rambling, but like, let's now start about the masquerade. And so contestants have to show up early. So um, I have to leave my friends group, and one of my friends goes, Rob, wait. I'm like, what? You're not ready. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not ready? We got, like, what are you talking about? He hands me a red and green tie,
Ah. Yes.
long necktie.
Right.
And then people who remember in the anime, there's a scene where he's drunk, wearing the necktie, and dodging bullets.
Right.
And so I'm like, All right, I guess I do have a skit.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Um, and yeah, so I was heading out. Now, Katie, did you see me at all?
I did.
You did?
I did.
When?
So I only went for the Saturday at Anime Boston 2004, and I saw you. I mean, like, like the, there wasn't a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people there, but there wasn't a lot of people there as far as Anime Boston's go. Um, so I kept running into like the same group people doing the same circles and stuff. And at one point, I think it was like we were on the second floor because we were looking for panel rooms or something. And you actually like came down the hallway past us with probably your friends. Now that I think about it, like I mean, I don't know who you were with, but I'm assuming it must have been your friends group. But it was like kind of like mid afternoonish because we didn't get to stick around for the masquerade that year because our ride was like, okay, you got like 6 hours. Good luck. It's like and of course, at the time, you're like however old, and you're just like, wow, 6 hours at a convention, that's forever. And now I'm like, okay, I live at conventions for 5 days. That's like not even anything.
That is your lunch.
Right, basically. No, but like we saw you and we were just like, oh my god, wow. I'm like, that's a really good Vash costume. Damn.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, ego. But I mean, again, here I am. Like I said, like you like you said, you looked like one of those people because you had done it in like such a fancy fabric. And I mean, I'm saying fancy at the time. I mean, again, I was 18. It's like, wow, it's like it looks like leather. Like, wow, he used like really good materials. Like, obviously, he knows exactly what he's doing. The facade of it all.
Oh, I motto I come up with life is fake it till you make it.
Pretty much.
Like no one cares like how you got it done. If you got it done, you got it done. You know.
Right. But I mean, like I said, our first encounter, like we didn't even talk to each other. We literally passed like ships in the night in the hallway, and I was just like, "Damn, wow, that looks really good," and off we went.
Well, that's cute. It did. You know, it's one of those things too. Like even with Jess, like she took my picture at '05, which was her first time going,
Mm-hmm.
and then met me. You know, it's like one of those things. Like you see these people, and then you discover them, and that's with like almost all the cosplayers I've ever became friends with.
Well,
Like
2005 was a whole different beast of a costume, like literally a beast.
har har har. Yeah, we'll get to that one. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm heading to the masquerade. Now, this is basically the chapter of like where the ego sets in, and you know why. You will understand.
Mm,
So in the Park Plaza, they have the Grand Ballroom, and the
mhm.
Grand Ballroom has a stage on one end and balcony seats on the side, basically like an aisle with like little bump outs for putting chairs down so people can see from a balcony. And so what they decided to do is they're going to have all the contestants up on the balcony on both sides, and then cycle them down and up, and then down behind stage. So like if you're on like the left side facing the stage, you're on the left side, you actually go you at one point will travel down the staircase behind the audience and come back up the other balcony and move your way forward to the stage when you go down the stairs to get on the stage.
Sure,
All the contestants are there and all the attendees are down on the bottom.
sure.
And so this is the part where I call the start of the 4 standing ovations.
The 4 standing ovations.
Katie, I shit you not. We can swear here. I shit you not. There are 4 standing ovations coming up in this story.
God, they created a monster.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so up in the balcony, like people, all the cosplayers that are competing are standing on like the little alcove pop outs and like looking down, waving to people, and people are like, oh, this character, oh, that character, oh,
Ah.
oh, so much funny. And so I'm seeing where I'm getting texts from my friends. They're like, oh, where are you? I'm like, oh, I'm on the right balcony. They're like, oh, did you bring your tie? And so like I just kind of like crept behind a pillar
Mhm,
and looked down. I looked down,
mhm.
and someone who wasn't my friend noticed me and started screaming, "There's Vash!" And then everybody looked up at me and they stood up. And I'm like, I'm still hiding behind a pillar. My head's just sticking out.
Right.
And I'm like, what the freaking hell was that? I back up.
What's happening? I haven't
Like,
done anything.
I haven't done anything. I'm just existing. A few people did that. It wasn't the whole audience. Sorry, I totally buried the lead on that. So then I was like, well, we're about to get the masquerade started after like another 20 minutes of being up there. And I'm like, you know what? Might as well just go onto the the edge of one of those alcoves and just stand there, kind of like a president. Like I'll just stand there and wave, like everyone else did it. So
Sure.
I creep up and I look down, and that's when I get the first actual full standing ovation.
Ooh.
Like it was like a wave that just went up and no one sat back down. They just all stood up and started screaming for me. Now, mind you, let's put this on scale. There's maybe about 1,000 something people as
Mm.
compared to like the 7 to like whatever, how many people can fit in the masquerade now?
6.
6,000. Yeah. So like it's much smaller, but it's a small room. So it's like, whoa,
All right. I mean, it's still a lot of people.
that's a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm like, hot damn. Like, okay, that was an experience. That's like, wow, that's one to remember. So that's number one. So masquerade goes on, a lot of walk-ons, everything like that. I come down. The masquerade coordinator is very excited to see me. I'm like, okay, and so I go out and I turn on. I have the music going on, and so I just start doing that drunk dancing with like the elbows at the hips,
Yep.
snapping. Like I had like earbuds in, and I got the tie on my head. I'm just like, yeah, woo, yeah, woo, woo. People are, like, I'm not looking at anybody in the audience. I'm like just focused on the stage.
Right.
And so then the music cues for me to pull up my gun, point it at the gun, click, 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 and because it was a revolver, I was able to like let it open up,
Yeah.
much like this famous scene, and then realize I had no bullets. And then we changed the soundtrack to just bullet shots from Counter Strike. um, and then I just start jumping around the stage, dodging and bullying and running away. And then everyone cheered and screamed and stood up. Like I'm trying to go up the stairs and I'm looking at the audience and everyone is standing up. I'm like, for that?
For that?
And
Oh,
I'm like,
2004. You're wild.
I know, wild. Like, oh my God. It's like I built a giant robot or something.
Oh, that accessory? Yeah.
That accessory. Another episode.
That is another story.
That's another story. That was going to be maybe not as rambly as this one, but yeah. So I'm like, oh my God. So at that point, I'm sweating bullets. I have only intake water. I have never peed in 2 days because I'm sweating it out.
Right. And stuck in a leather jacket.
And so like I'm peeling out up there. Everyone's like, water, water. I'm like, thank you, thank you. And I was like, okay. Whew. I haven't had a high like that since I used to perform in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. And so the rest of the, continues. And then like we cycle back down and I'm down the back and back up to my original side of the balcony and everything like that. And so I'm like, okay, all right, cool. That was fun. And then the coordinator came up and started pulling us by groups or group numbers and kind of like, bring us downstairs. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I got something. I wonder what it is. Like, what could it be? Like, this is kind of cool. And so she gets us in the order and she's like, all right, I need you to stay back after you get your award. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking like, oh, they want to take photos or something like that. She's like,
Sure.
no, you need to stay back. So stay back. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
All right. And so they get out the awards and they go, best craftsmanship masters. What? What? And then it goes to Vash the Stampede. Sketch Vash the Stampede. And I come out. I'm like, hell yeah. All right. Woo.
Woo!
Woo. And they give me a large paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do I have a trophy and I have this large paper bag, this is the only year they had like huge ass prizes. This like happened by happenstance, where every single dealer they asked for something to donate, they donated. So it's a giant bag of like small toys and magazines and manga.
Mm-hmm.
This first little bag. Little bag. And I'm like, holy crap.
Like, yeah, just
awesome.
give me this. I need a trophy.
And so then I'm standing there and I'm waving to the crowd and I'm waving to another standing ovation.
That's 3.
That's 3. I'm like, ah!
Sit down. No, please don't.
Sit down. Your knees must be hurting. You sit down. So I'm like, okay, wow. Whew. Okay, all right. Well, that happened again. cool. I did a good job. I really had a lot of positive experience and a lot of positive feedback for what I did. Cool. So I go backstage because they said stick around. I'm like, all right. And so they continue the next few awards, and then they go, best presentation, uh, skit, master level, Vash the Stampede. I won best in show.
Yeah, technically it's a best in show.
It was the best in show for that year.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Because I'm just taken back. Because I'm just like, come on, I just jumped around the stage.
Yeah, like I literally did nothing, but thank you.
I mean, I was in character. Yeah, like, and this is again me expressing how I felt at the time. When I told this story later, I'm like, yeah, awesome dude here, you know.
You
But I'm just,
know, a lot of that dancing.
and so I go out and I go out to a standing ovation,
Mm-hmm.
and they hand me another award, and
Mm-hmm.
they hand me two more bags
Wow.
and a karaoke DVD player.
I remember you talking about that.
So if you dive deep enough into the bowels of the internet, there's a picture of me holding two bags, a DVD player on top of that, and then a third bag on top of the DVD player with a shit-eating grin out to the audience, like, hi.
Because you won all the awards.
All one of the words, but like, I mean, and let's just say, like, everyone got like significant bag like that. Like, this was like
Right.
unheard of. Like, I thought this was like usual. So when I came back the next year, I was like, oh god, like, okay. Well, it's still really fun to come out and like do a really good job and win stuff anyway. But it was just like it was like, what the hell is this? But I'm just like, oh my god,
That's a
like
lot.
I'm beside myself. I'm just like, all right, cool.
For like
Yeah.
your first convention and everything else, like that's ridiculous. But also, like 2004 was apparently lit.
Well, no, it was lit. Like, oh my god, Final Fantasy 10 players or 10-2 players, like cosplayers, like it was amazing the quality and dedication so many of these people had in the era of 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, there was a group that had a bunch of Final Fantasy characters, which are off and on had been friends, like from that first masquerade my entire life. I still know several of them, from
Yeah.
that day. Like, it was just like we were just standing in line, and they got a group award for craftsmanship, and it was just mind boggling. And so then, my friends are like, "Well, we're gonna head home, but do you want us to take this for you? Because you kind of see me going to high. You probably want to like hang around the con some more." And I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of really do." And like and then like everyone's talking to me. I have no voice at this point. I lost my voice. Um, Telling everybody how I made everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the dumb thing was too is that I figured out just before the masquerade. Again, I just buried the lead on this one. That I've actually swapped um, my shin guards from right to left. I could bend my leg, so that's why I was able to do the skit. So yeah,
It's
I
a
buried the lead.
miracle.
It's a miracle. I buried the lead on that one. Yeah, and so like I got people talking to me, just congratulating me. It's really fun. People are dragging me to the rave, which wasn't anything back then, but dragging me to the rave, all this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, wow, like I don't get this in college. I get harsh criticisms
Right.
for line quality.
I am a rock star here. I don't want to leave.
So yeah, it's like one of those things. Just like, holy cow! And then like I'm saying, like, how many people go through this or have this happen to them? So nothing too crazy. I think the most negative thing was two frat kind of anime boys were like, "Hey, we kind of like we got a pizza. We want you to hang out with you." So like the girls come to us,
Mhm.
and like
That's how you do it.
I'm like,
Hey, you
okay,
guys want to come hang out? We got Red Leather Vash from like Masquerade. No, you don't.
yeah. I mean,
No, I
and
swear to God, like he's hanging out with us and eating pizza.
yeah, and I'm just like, cool for the pizza. And then like they kind of like wander down like one of the small hallways to like
Mhm.
sit down and eat this pizza with any
Sure.
girls that would follow. And I just like stopped all the girls. I'm like, don't go over there.
Please do not.
Just please do not. I do not want to be an accessory to this.
Yeah, right. This feels uncomfortable. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
I just stayed out in the second floor lobby. I was just like, okay. And then I'm like, all right, let's get into like 1:30. I gotta head back, and like, well, subways aren't running. It's Boston. I know how to get there by foot. It was really funny too. Is just before I did that, I actually called my mom before it was like midnight. Like, hey mom, I know it's gonna take the train home. Um, could you actually come into town and pick me up with a van? I have more luggage than I thought I was gonna have.
She's like, okay.
She's like, you won? I'm like, yes. 3 bags and a DVD player. She's like, huh? What? Oh man,
Oh
it was so
god.
fun.
Were they
So yeah.
psyched? Like, were your parents psyched for you?
Oh, this was back in the era, and yes, my mom's going to be listening to the podcast, and
She
I'm
sure
like,
is.
where they're like, "That's cool, but I don't get it." But and she'll admit that, she's like, she didn't get it. She's like, "Is this really a pastime?"
I was like, oh honey, like you're going to college. Is this what you want to do?
Is this going to become a thing?
Here we
Um,
are, 20
well,
years later.
20 years later, she absolutely loves my wife, loves my wife who I met through Anime Boston,
Hmm.
my kid who wouldn't have happened without the wife because of Anime Boston.
Right.
It's like
Storage locker of like costumes.
who started watching Doctor Who after that. And now
Also, your mother loves me, so
well, it's not always about you.
it's about me.
It's about you.
Isla loves
You
me, and
know,
I love her.
and my sister starts going to Dragon Con, and it was back then. It was like, okay, what the heck is this? Now it's like, oh, that's a thing people do. They have fun. They meet interesting people. Um, I
I'm
mean,
people.
because of conventions, like I know some voice actors like personally, and because of like Dragon Con, I've met many celebrities I've looked up to. So like it's like the contrast between what people thought things were in 2003, 2004 to what they are now.
Hmm.
You're welcome, MCU. Like
Yeah, literally.
so. It's like that. But she's like okay, and and she'd probably be like, I didn't think that. You thought this, mom. Like in 2004, you're just like, okay, that was cool, but
Right? Okay, well, whatever. As long as
yeah,
you're happy.
yeah. Um, so now I have to traverse Boston 1:30 in the morning when the bars are let out, dressed as Vash the Stampede,
With a space
packing,
gun.
packing. No,
Packing.
yeah. I still had that prop on me. I didn't,
Right, right.
you know, and I'm just like walking down these streets, and like I'm having at least every other bar someone stopping their conversation to look at me. All but one had an idea of what was going on, and that was pretty incredible because she was shit faced. But I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like a bunch of bros were like, what's this punk guy doing? I'm like, oh, just let me keep walking. Uh,
Please, please, no, sir. No, thank
no,
you.
no, no, thank you. I don't want you to live down that you had an ass whooping by a guy in leather.
Right.
Uh, I would have had my ass handed to me. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
but
I
no,
mean, you know what? You tell the story. It's your story, babe.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I would kick their ass.
I stared him down, and
Beat him with my plastic gun.
yeah, there was a high whistle.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. No, but like I did go by this one girl who because she's like, is there like an anime convention in this weekend? I'm like, yeah, it's like one more day. Park Plaza. Go have fun. Yeah. But yeah, it was just like, oh God. Because it's still one of those things, like, that's so new. It's like, I'm dressing like this because.
It's like I feel like it's like like in the anime when you like get walking and people are following you, so you just walk the faster, like they speed walk down the sidewalk, like no, no, thank you, no, getting away
Yep,
now, bye
yep,
bye.
yep. Well, that's the next costume story. But but yeah, so then I got back and my friends went through all the stuff to see what I got, and one of them organized it. This is a small little Ziploc bag of all the stickers, here are all the postcards. Here's some posters. Here's some wall scrolls. Like going up
Gotcha.
here's the press release for Witch Hunter Robin, the press release box. I had two of those. uh, I think it was G Gundam was the other one, came with a small figure. uh, and then they're like, I didn't know Daewoo made DVD players.
Who knew?
Daewoo. But yeah, it was a karaoke. It had the microphone outlets for the jacks for the karaoke that you could do on it.
That's amazing.
Never did that.
Liar.
No, I never did. I didn't have the microphones.
I don't believe you.
I didn't. I'm sorry, Katie. I didn't.
I'm
As much as
editing it.
we
You
all
did.
know that I love to bust out the jams,
Don't I know?
I did not partake in the at home karaoke bar.
Boo.
No one like. I mean, karaoke means like empty orchestra. We don't need to have it sad man by himself
A sad
singing
tuba.
sad tuba. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, internet. I play the tuba.
He sure does.
Um,
He sure does.
sure does.
Okay. So that's your 2004 Vash the Stampede story, but now like we have to talk about 2005 a little bit.
I guess so.
We do. But here's the thing. It's like we'll make it painless, short and sweet. So I told everybody at the beginning of this, you are my longest convention friend. And like obviously our meeting in that hallway left no impact on either one of us because again, you didn't talk to me, I didn't talk to you. It was the following year, I think you were in Artist Alley, weren't you?
Yes, they moved to the Heinz Convention Center at this point. Someone says, well, you have an illustration degree, start a webcomic, get a table. And then
Right.
another friend's like, I like to make props. Can I sit at your table too? We started a company. Yeah. So I'm in the artist alley. Yeah. Right
Right.
outside the dealer's room.
Yes. Now, mind you, back in the day, if anybody's been to Anime Boston, like you probably do not remember a time where you could actually like twirl in a hallway and be the only person in that hallway.
Yeah.
I remember a time that I could walk through the middle of that convention center and there was maybe 5 other people there. And it was beautiful. And it was amazing. Not that I don't love every single person that goes, but it's just like, wow, I remember when you could actually breathe in this room. And I mean, that's still kind of nice.
I
But
love every single attendant, and I also equally despise you if you do certain things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is my first year at the convention, 2005, staying for more than 6 hours. I was there for the whole weekend.
Okay.
And of course, news travels fast when you've only got so many people going to a convention. And everyone's just like, oh my God, did you hear the Red Leather Vash guy from last year that won Best in Show has a table? And we're like, where? And they're like, oh, there's this whole little thing set up outside a dealer's room. It's like for artists and stuff. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, when it actually was an alley and it was
Right.
a hallway, and we're all like, where do we put our stuff when the convention closes and people are still walking around? Like,
Do we just take one? Okay.
well, no, you had to sign up and stuff like that, but it was
Uh,
more the fact that like it technically closed before the actual convention center closed, and then it's like, well, all my stuff is here. I don't want to leave my stuff here, so it was a litigated nightmare of like moving your stuff around all the time.
right. Right.
Digress. You're
You
talking
digress.
about us meeting.
Because you know where the story's going, and I know you do. So I go and I'm like, I'm gonna find him. So you wander around, you're looking, and of course, I mean, Rob is a very recognizable person, obviously, because he had a very popular costume that was all over the internet as far as Anime Boston go. Because Anime Boston at the time had no other press really, except for these are the things that were big and important last year, and one of them was Red Leather Vash because you won so many goddamn awards with your 17 ovations. And I walk up to the table, and I was like, "Hi." And he looks up. Hi. It's like, hi, my name's Katie. I'm like, I just wanted you to know I saw your Vash costume last year. I thought you were really good. Oh, thanks. And you put your head back down and went back to whatever you were doing. And I was like, okay, cool, bye. Now, here's the thing. You would think anybody else would be deterred by that, like, oh man, like I guess he doesn't like me. I was just literally like, oh my God, he said hi to me, and I walked away. And it was just like, oh my God. So then the rest of the weekend, because again, like, Anime Boston, back when it got to a bigger convention center, they didn't fill the place as much. And I don't think they had the whole convention center, did they, at the time?
No, they didn't have the top floor.
Right. So it was like, I mean, there was only so much to do because they just didn't, like, fill all the rooms and stuff. So eventually you wander back down to the same things. And over the weekend, I went to go visit Rob's table more because then it was just like, oh, you had stuff. I wanted to see it. Oh, let's get to talking because I'm going to make you talk to me because I'm going to make you talk to me. That's just the person that I am. And you know that.
I am Katy Hunt, bitch.
Right. You do not
talk to me.
understand.
Yeah.
You will acknowledge my existence.
Hi.
Yes. Basically, I forced Rob to pay attention to me. But
So
I was also 19. And I didn't take no for an answer at 19, nor do I now. And that's how we became friends. I basically harassed you into becoming my friend. And here we are.
They're not like worse ways to do it. Maybe not
Right.
the best, but yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though. Is like, back in the day, you could take that as like, oh my god, this person's so obnoxious. Like, why would I ever give them the time of day? But somehow I charmed you.
Mm.
Mm,
Well, you're very charming.
I am.
No, no. I mean, the only thing I could really say was that, like, I still was like, like, is lightning going to strike twice here? Because
Yeah.
I did have like the next big costume.
Yeah, you damn like Lynx costume. What the hell? Like
Like,
you've never been at like a 2. It's always been like a 10 or nothing.
well, that if you're gonna do it as a 10.
Right. And honestly, like, and I'll say it because again, my first costume, I would give my first costume like a 5. And then honestly, it's like, becoming friends with you over the years, it's kind of just like, well, shit, if all of my other friends are going to be like at a 10, mostly you at the beginning of like my convention career, it's like, I want to be at a 10. So, I mean, kind of inspiring. Not going to lie. I
Oh,
go
I
as
mean,
hard as I do because of you, man.
oh man, that's, so-
Oh,
that's,
man.
that's like so humbling and so burdensome.
Okay, says the man that made a robot that was best prop.
Accessory.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. How dare I diminish it?
Diminish it. It was the best accessory, and that'll be a story for another time, kids.
Oh my god. Oh, it's awesome. Like, look it up. It's a Fully Cooley robot costume, and it's the only one that's worth looking at. It won best
I wouldn't say
accessory.
that, but again, you got to keep in mind it was 2000.
Like, for the time that it was the only one worth looking at.
But yeah, that was the weekend that started me down this path for better or worse.
I mean, honestly, like, we could always get into the Bahamut story at some point, too.
Eventually, but honestly, I think we should warm up to a lot of the other ones first because they're so much older.
It's true. Oh, no, like, there's, like, gonna be, like, a saga.
Oh God,
Let's talk about the trouble I got into in this costume.
I don't like to think of it as trouble.
I will call it trouble. I lived it. Honestly, I mean, like, really though, like your cosplay glow up story, I mean, it has everything. It's got action, it's got suspense, it's got romance. There's a happy ending.
Thank God. Yeah, it's funny because it's like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, like cockiest asshole to tell these stories and stuff like this, and now like 20 years since, or
Almost.
bordering 2 decades since, it's like I'm just humbled when I hear people in your podcast bringing me up, and I'm like, why? Come,
Because it's
I,
raw.
wa- I, wa- I, wa- I wasn't that good.
Shut up.
No, I did what I did, and like I faked it till I maked it, and I did have some very prominent moments.
Rob, you literally had a lion face the next year.
I know that's part of the story.
It's like, god
Part of the
damn it.
story.
Like,
I
I was so
get it.
excited about having like 6 different costumes, and you showed up with a sickle that you like crafted and a lion face. And I was like,
That
cool.
that sickle is still one of my most favorite props I've ever made. I still have it. It has definitely been worn.
And I
uh,
literally like I showed up in like half a Roy Mustang costume because I couldn't figure out how to make the jacket. Yeah,
and
you're right.
okay. I mean, I get it, but it's just more like, no, please stop showering me. You do not want to feed the ego beast. Nobody wants that. You don't know yet. You have not understood. Don't feed this ego. It is horrible.
I laugh in the face of the ego beast of Rob.
I know.
It's like, sit down. You're like, okay.
Okay, Katie.
Go sit in your corner, drink your tea.
Okay. But no, but I do actually want to call out to all the people who have mentioned me. Obviously my podcast crew on
Mm-hmm.
AnimeCons TV.
Yep.
Obviously it's been a little awkward to try to keep that going later in life to begin with, and then with our pandemic.
Yeah, no cons going on.
Yeah, or us not going to cons because we're like, no.
Yeah.
I honestly really want to call out to Teresa. You're adorable. Um, I'm still just always flabbergasted how much you've always like thought the shit of me. It's like come on, like yeah, like you do so much good work. You really do. It's amazing. Like I wish I had the time right now to do stuff like that, but
Senpai's noticed me.
I mean, not even just this podcast. Like even you, Katie, have like named me out personally and other things you've talked about. Like, and it's just like, oh, come on.
Dude, I
Like,
told you, like back in the day, it was goals, and now it's like we compete together. It's a
yeah,
force, man.
the force to be reckoned with.
Like our group is literally a force. I'm sorry, and I said it.
Oh
Toot
yeah.
toot. I don't care.
No, no, I mean we are, but and again, like it's humbling to hear it, and honestly, in the grand scheme of it, it's like there are people who do work better than me, but I did it first.
And on that note,
Sorry, I had to end it somewhere.
and on that note, we gotta go. Rob, thank you for coming on, my white whale, my Everest. You did it. I'm so proud of you.
You're welcome.
You found time in your busy, like real life.
It's kind of hard when you don't have internet because you don't have a house because you're building a house. But
Okay, that seems like a you problem.
I know it's a me problem. I got over me and my problem to make it
Thank
your
God.
problem.
We'll definitely have you back on because the story's not done. There's so many more epic tales in between here and now.
They're fun. They're fun. I hope they're fun. I mean, let's get this to 100 downloads. Get on the top 10. Come on.
I have to
Only
beat my
you,
wife, my ego.
my benchmark, my
Oh boy.
my rolling eyes behind me. No,
Right. Oh God, she's right there.
nah, I love her to death, and it's honestly like I probably got better at like having
Dance skits. You
not
definitely
dance,
got better
no,
at
no,
dance skits.
no, work ethics and stuff like that because of
Yeah,
her.
sure.
So it's like
Dance
it's all
skits too.
it's dance skits. Yeah, it's all love. It's so great.
It's
It's
all about
fabulous.
competition.
I highly recommend it, just not mine. She's mine.
Right.
But yeah, um, but yeah. So it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. I hope everyone enjoys this, and I hope to have more stories to tell.
Oh, you do.
Oh, I have them. I just hope to actually sit down and do it.
Oh, I'll pry them from you. Don't you worry. This is not the end
Okay.
of this.
You know where I live.
I do. I actually do. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good
Bye.
night.